Now, I'd argue this is a little bit trickier situation and a little bit harder to, you don't have, in this case, we're talking about off-label statements that are made, not off-label questions. Whereas with off-label questions, there's already an accepted way for companies to, in a compliant fashion, respond to those questions. It's difficult to apply the same criteria here with off-label statements. And also there's the added concern about harming the patient-physician relationship, and I'll explain that a little bit, and unduly censoring the online discussion that's happening. Remember, this is all about engaging in a way that social media is actually taking place, not pseudo-social media where everything is sort of screened and pre-cleared in advance. You can imagine, for instance, someone visits a company site and there's a community hosted on that site, and they mention, oh, I'm taking your product for a specific condition, and that happens to be an off-label use of the product. However, it may have been deemed medically appropriate by their physician, and imagine how you would feel if you did something like that and you were told by a company, that's an inappropriate use of our product, when in fact their doctor said it is appropriate. So you have to be careful and sensitive about that. But we feel it is appropriate to, in those cases, to notify the general community when such a question is posted or such a statement is posted, that the comment pertains to an off-label use, and direct both the visitor and the general community to their doctor, their physician, to actually get treatment information for themselves. And depending on the context of the site itself, it may be a promotional or disease-related site that this happened on. The company may also need to provide some on-label or appropriate product information from an FDA-approved standpoint, and that could be linked to the product package insert, to a branded website that has full information, as well as a contact information for the medical department. And we would suggest that it would be appropriate to not immediately remove something like this, but to remove an off-label comment within a reasonable time frame, which is something I think would be an interesting discussion about what reasonable time frame is. For a couple of reasons. We feel that it would be appropriate to leave it there for a reasonable time frame in order for the company to respond and address it, so again, it doesn't exist on the site unquestioned. But then to limit that so you don't have off-label information that's living for weeks, months, and beyond. Moving on to third-party sites where a company might engage. A company might decide that it's the Wall Street Journal health blog is a good place to go and interact with the community. Whether it's initiating a discussion, posting something to sort of prompt the discussion, or joining an existing ongoing discussion. If the company's mentioning a product, obviously it's going to be deemed as promotional. Certainly I would argue the FDA would take that position. And as such, it should comply with the applicable regulations. And we also recommend that companies should refrain, for obvious reasons, from joining off-label discussions unless there are specific scenarios that would warrant it, specific circumstances, but as routine, probably not a great idea. And here, while I don't think companies would generally feel responsibility for off-label statements made on such a third-party site, since they're not prompting it or have control over it, certainly there could be a scenario where a company has decided to engage in an online community on a third-party site, and recognizing the presence of the company, someone in that community may pose a question to the company specifically. And again, as is usually done, medical staff within a pharmaceutical company usually respond to such requests. And we would recommend that if possible, technologically, that response be made directly to the requester for the information. However, if this direct response is not possible, there should be a response from the company posted to the community notifying them that this question was indeed off-label and contained off-label information, and providing a link or toll-free number where that person can, or others on the site can contact the company, or for that information. Or again, if this is a consumer site, it could also ask them to please speak to their healthcare professional or physician about such information. Now, the last item I wanted to cover was a category I mentioned earlier. We're talking about a third-party site, such as a video sharing site like YouTube, where a company might have basically a piece of property. They have their own page or channel on that site. So conceivably, it could be viewed as a company site within a larger hosting third-party site. For anybody that's perused YouTube recently, I'm sure you've seen that pharmaceutical companies that are present there, there's a lot of great videos on there, but you'll probably notice that comments are generally disabled. You can't go on there like you might with other video content and just post comments. This is not social media, and I think we're looking for a way to move past that. But we do recognize if it is a company site, it's probably appropriate to monitor that site, if nothing else, to make sure that if there are potential adverse events reported, to make sure they're captured and reported within the appropriate time frame. Some sites may even permit pre-clearance or pre-review of comments before they're posted. And certainly, yeah, that might help you prevent off-label information being posted in connection with your video. But again, it's not social media, and if we're really going to move beyond this, I think we have to come up with alternatives. And one of those would be to one of those ways would be to refer to the proposals I just suggested for company sites, whether it's an off-label statement or comment. So you would provide contact information for medical affairs, or you can lead them to approved product information, such as the package insert branded website. But we would try to avoid just censoring and removing comments like that, because again, that's going to alienate the community. And that's, as we've heard today, people are looking for the industry to engage, and this is certainly not going to endear them if the company is only censoring and deleting comments that it finds inappropriate. So with that, I think I'm out of time.